Right, how do you plan on doing the quarterbacks Saturday?
Those guys will probably, and by those guys I mean Sean, Jeremy, and John, rotate pretty evenly. We're going to do a blue versus white deal, kind of like Coach has always done. And you'll probably see all three of those guys, some with each team, and fairly even. I haven't for sure decided, but probably give a guy 2 series with this squad, 2 with this squad, rotate them just to try to balance it up and give them equal reps with the ones, equal reps with the 2s.
Well, they won't be liable with.
No, probably not. No, they won't be. We've done some work like that in the spring. I think that's been good, but we won't in that scenario. Which, limits some of the things they'll be able to do, but that's okay. They need to learn to play that way.
Now that you've been almost all the way through the spring, what have you seen out of those 3 guys as a group?
Yeah, I think they've all gotten better. Now, hey, until you put them in a game situation, it's practice. But I've been really pleased with all 3 of them. You start with a guy like Sean. Being healthy was big, and they all bring something different to the table. And Sean obviously brings his toughness and his grit. And he's a guy that sees the field, makes good decisions. He's going to know where to go with the football, and I know his teammates believe in him from that standpoint. He's proven that in games. Jeremy obviously has got a wealth of experience dating back to his freshman year, and I've been really pleased with his progress this spring and his, just the way he's improved and really stayed the course. And then John, we've had 13 practices, and you bring in a guy new into our system, and things are happening fast. We've really been stressing tempo, and the thing that's been impressive that he's been able to do is pick everything up. He doesn't have a lot of mental mistakes. I mean, he's been able to pick everything up. He's had to go at the pace that Sean and Jeremy have gone at, and made some really good strides, and just feeling like he knows what to do. Now, he's done everything right, but still he's not quite where he's just reacting. He's still thinking a little bit, but that's normal. But I've been impressed with how he's picked it up. He's just got to make sure he can protect the football at this point, and that's probably the number one thing for him. But they've all 3 done some good things. They won't be live, but pleased with where they're at. We got a lot of work to do this summer and in fall camp, though, to get where we need to be.
Are you okay to go into summer and fall camp with that still as a competition and not really knowing what you're going to do on September 3rd?
I'm okay with it. And Coach Malzahn and I, we haven't really discussed where we're at with that. We've just been pushing through the spring. We have an idea, but again, all 3 of those guys have had a good spring camp. And again, until we do it in a game, doesn't mean a whole lot other than we feel good about the progress we're making. And but no, we've done it both ways, so I'm concerned.
Right. There've been a lot of questions about John's passing.
Mm-hmm.
Has he gotten better? Can he be an SEC caliber?
Yeah, John. The ball comes out of John's hands well. He's got a strong arm. He can spiral the ball, snap it off pretty good. There's been a couple things naturally that he's worked on that I think has improved a lot from day one till now. Like, the deep ball wasn't his strength. He can really drive the ball, make all the throw. He can make every throw on the field. But the deep ball wasn't as natural to him as and we kind of knew that when we recruited him. He's really improved that. Just giving guys a chance. He's got a big arm. He can throw it a mile, but that doesn't do us any good if our guy doesn't catch it. So he's done a nice job of being more accurate with the deep ball. And then I just don't think he'd ever been in a system where you're required to get the ball in your hands as quick as we like to in some scenarios. But that's an area he's improved. But yeah, John can throw the football. It's just going to be a matter of him getting enough time and reps. You got to remember the guy. I think that the expectations need to be tempered on him a little bit. It's a guy who was half and half with another guy at his junior college, and that's not because he wasn't good. The other guy was good, but that's the way they chose to do it. So he's got a lot of ball he needs to play at that position, just from an instinctive standpoint to continue to improve. But he's like I said, his attitude's been phenomenal. As good a work ethic as you find. I think he's got a chance.
What's the situation with Tyler Queen, and how long do you think he's going to be out?
I think Tyler's going to be okay long term. He got dinged up. Was it last Saturday? He just fell on his AC. I don't anticipate anything that would require surgery, but he'll be out through the rest of the spring.
You talked about John Saturday, not live, but how important and what you be looking for him in a game-type atmosphere with the crowd and all that stuff?
Well, you always want to know, whether there's 40, 50, 60, 70,000, whatever's going to be there, how guys react in the most game-like situation we're going to get to before we play, with the exception of the live part. Are they the same guy? Do their eyes get really big and wide? Are they the same guy that they are all the time? How are you going to do playing from the pocket all the time? Because guys that have ability to make plays with their feet, that's sometimes things you got to work on. Play from the pocket first, and then use your instincts when you need to. So That's something we've been stressing, obviously, in practice. Most days he's not live, and so how he'll handle that, that'll be good for us to see.
Gus just puts an inordinate value on spring, especially at quarterback,
Mhm.
and for years has done that. What has been, what has John gotten out of this? Because Sean's done it before, Jeremy's done it before, been through this, you know what they've
Yep.
done in games. How valuable has these 13, 14 practices been for John, as opposed to if he didn't have it?
It's been huge. I mean, you know, anytime you can come in and get a full 15 days of spring and then kind of step back, go into the summer. It's like anything else you do in life. You go do it once and it's just, you get thrown in the fire and it's like, okay, when you can step back and then do it again, if you're the type of person you need to be, then you're going to be much more improved that second time. So for John, he gets 15 practices to learn the majority of the base offense, okay? We're not game planning for anybody, but he gets the nuts and bolts. How's he going to handle it? Like I say, he's done a good job of that. Now he goes into the summer, and so when he's working with the guys, he'll just continue to polish that. When we get back in fall camp, you'd like to see a big jump in the growth process and maturity. A guy like Nick showed up July 1st. He didn't get that. And so he was constantly learning on the run through July and then 15, 16 practices. And really, to be honest, even those first 4 or 5 games, it was kind of a limited work in progress because he didn't get that spring. So I think it's huge.
You know, a lot of people would say you don't bring a junior college player in unless you expect them to play.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think JF3 is going to play one way or the other, whether it's the starter next season or as a Wildcat quarterback?
You're right. You don't bring a junior college guy in and not expect him to play. And I can't tell you exactly what he'll do at this point. He's still in competition to be the starter. But he is a guy that has shown he can handle things, and he's got some impact player ability. So I would expect us to find a way to utilize him regardless.
And compared to, say, going into the Birmingham Bowl, to where you are now at the quarterback position, how does it compare?
I'd like to think we're in a lot better shape. Like I said, Sean's healthy. He wasn't healthy ever since the fourth quarter of the Arkansas game. It was a really bad nagging injury, and that makes him a different person because he's not a bad athlete. He's not going to beat you running the ball, but everybody remembers he pulled one and ran 40 yards against Mississippi State, just extending the plays like he did against Kentucky, things like that. I think it's helped his confidence. I said the last time we talked that obviously Jeremy been really impressed with the way he has handled everything, and to come back and compete and earn his teammates' trust and respect has been really impressive. So I feel like those two guys are in a much better place. Really has improved, and obviously I've liked the way John has picked up things initially. At the end of the day, though, won't really be able to show anything until we play somebody.
With that said about John in particular, right, because not only JUCO guys come into play, but you'd be hard pressed to find a JUCO quarterback coming to the SEC who didn't end up being the starter eventually, immediately. Whether you make the decision public or not, privately when you meet with the quarterbacks after spring is over, will you lay out for Jeremy so he can make a decision for his future what the prospects are for him, whether you make it public or not? Will you lay out a full table?
Yeah, the one thing I'll always be with those guys is honest and straightforward. Each one of them are going to know exactly where they stand, where we stand, where we are in the process. That's only fair to them. So it would be that way for Sean, Jeremy, John, anyone, Tyler, and on down the line. There's no question. We'll be very honest.
Will you meet with them after spring?
Yeah, and I'll meet with every position coach. I'll meet with their players. I'll meet with all the offensive guys, and we give them feedback on where we thought they were coming out of spring, what they need to improve on, where we see them if we play today, and where everything is. And that's only fair. And then they need to know what we need to work on in the summer. So that's pretty common.
You don't anticipate naming the starter after spring, do you?
Again, Coach and I haven't visited about that. We're going to get through A-Day. We got one more practice next Tuesday, and then we'll go from there.
Brett, earlier this spring, you said you really would need to see them more in scrimmages, get more information on John to really kind of make any comparisons with him and Nick. And now that you have a little more information, do you feel like they're fair or they're not? Or are they just two totally?
I don't want to compare him to Nick, but I do have more information. Like I said, until you just put the ball down and play ball, it's hard to know how guys are going to react. And that's something that I think was good for all three of those guys to do. Again, for John and really anybody, it's going to come down to we need somebody who can make plays. You got to be a playmaker quarterback to win and to win championships. You're going to be hard pressed to find many guys who don't have that. And secondly, can you be a playmaker but protect the football? If you can't protect the football, you're not going to play. And so that's kind of where we're at with those guys who can make plays, protect the football, and at the end of the day, step on that field and make those 10 guys around them better. And that's how we'll decide it.
Right. I guess my question for you is, do you think that you personally have enough information to make a 1, 2, 3 at quarterback position right now?
I have in my mind where I'd be right now. If we play tomorrow, we don't play till September's the 3rd.
Yeah.
September 3rd, so I'm going to worry about that right now.
What's been the emphasis with Jeremy this spring, and what have you tried to get him to
Yeah.
kind of understand and accomplish?
Yeah, good question. One of the things that I think Jeremy really has done a good job of improving is playing in the pocket with stuff around him. When a guard gets knocked back in your face, you get a free runner standing and delivering the ball, taking the hit. That's tough to do. It's tough to simulate too when you're not live. Because if you stand back there and I got an orange jersey on, no one's going to hit me. You play different than if you know it's the real deal. And it's hard to simulate. It's hard to do. It's part of the job description of playing quarterback. I feel like he's really grown up a lot in that area, and he can play from the pocket when things aren't perfect and still deliver the ball to the right guys. That's what we've worked on.
What
most.
about the run game with him? Sorry.
Yeah, for Jeremy, you got to go this way. You got to be a north-south guy. And when we did go live, he had some opportunities. I thought he showed great toughness and physicality and ran downhill and had some nice plays.
2 weeks ago, you were very much open-ended with wide receivers.
Yeah.
And now they've got a couple of scrimmages to look at them. Has anyone stood out in that group?
Yeah, it's still fairly open-ended. One thing, we got 5 guys that are going to be helping us that aren't here. But of the guys that are here, Ryan Davis has had an extremely good spring, for a guy that is young, got his feet wet a little bit. I think he's a guy that can be a playmaker, but most importantly, he's a guy that is just doing it the way we want him to do it. I mean, he goes hard every play. He's tough, he's physical, he plays fast. Smart kid, played quarterback, that helps. So he's really had a great spring, I think, in terms of just really elevating his level of and improving. Marcus Davis is a reliable guy. Being a senior, he should be. We can play him at any position we got, and he'll know what to do, and he'll go out and he'll make plays. He's one of those guys that plays bigger than he is. He's not real big. He's not the fastest guy on the field. He's very, very quick, so he can get open. But he plays bigger than he is, like he did in the national championship game, catching a ball down the middle of the field, or et cetera, over his career. So for him to maybe have a chance to have a bigger role than he's had in the past. The rest of those guys, they just got to keep coming. Darius Slayton's a guy that is improving, that we really need to be a factor and help us. But you got 5 guys out there. You got the 4 freshmen and Stanton Truitt who hadn't been able to go. That from a depth perspective, we've had only 5 or 6 guys going all spring. That's tough. So that'll really help us when we get that other crew in.
The other day, Marcus said he felt like he was the go-to guy. I mean, do you view him in that sense, or do you not think that's something you can find until you actually get in the game?
You can find it. We don't have a go-to guy yet, to be honest with you. I don't know. I would say Marcus is the most dependable guy we got, and we've moved him around, and we're trying to find ways to get him the ball and give him the opportunity to be that guy.
It's kind of a defensive question, but how are those guys faring against Carlton Davis?
I tell you what, I'm glad Carlton Davis plays for us. When he presses you and he gets those big long arms on you, it's pretty much over. Coach Burns and I were talking just yesterday about how many guys have we had win one-on-one against him, and it's been few. And so he's really good. And Dean's doing a great job as well. He's another big, long guy that can run. So I think that's huge for our defense to have those guys, and just knowing from experience when you go against those guys, it's tough. So he's done an exceptional job. We haven't won much against him.
Sorry. Who's the first running back on the field Saturday?
It's a great question. I don't know. Depends on who gets the ball first, blue or white.
Rhett, talk about big picture.
They're all going to play pretty equal. I mean, it's a fair question, but we got probably what? You got Javon, Petway, Rock, Chandler. Those 2 guys have been playing some running back. Malik Miller, all those guys. Malik's obviously further behind those other 4. So after that, right now, I don't know if we have a true pecking order. They all do other things different than the other well.
When everything's done on Saturday, when you look at the big picture, what do you want to see from the offense?
I want to see toughness. I want to see some guys play with some physicality and some toughness like Auburn expects and like we've done for a long time when we've been successful. Tempo is something we've really stressed. Obviously, we got to make some plays to have some tempo, but we want to play faster, even when we're maybe not snapping the ball at a faster clip. Just see our guys fly around and play faster. And I'd like to see some guys make some plays. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, we put a lot of emphasis on that. Spring games are tough. It's hard to get a fair evaluation on anybody in a spring game, not necessarily an individual, but teams, because everyone does them differently. You got a lot of fans. You want to do a good job for the fans. You want to have a reward for the players, let them go play. But all our games are on TV. Every opponent we're playing is recording it. So both sides are going to be pretty vanilla. You know, we've also been going against each other for 15 days or 13 days. So if you're really simple, and everybody, offense knows what the defense is going to do, defense knows what the offense is going to do, it can get tough sometimes to, you know, show exactly where everything is at, and that's okay. The biggest thing for us is, can we come out of it healthy? Can our guys play fast and play extremely tough and physical? And can we have some guys make some plays? You know, and that's what I'll be looking for.
Has Golson's, you think, settled in at left tackle, and how's it look at right tackle right now?
I don't know if anyone's settled in. I think we have a pretty good idea right now who our top 5 guys are, and we just got to develop depth behind that. And so, you know, 5 or 6 guys is probably a good way to put it. We have played Austin at a lot more tackle. He's still capable of playing center. I think Xavier's done a nice job, you know, playing center for us too. And it just enables us to maybe get the 5 or 6 best guys out there as much as we can. So you'll see him play a lot of tackle. I don't know if that's permanent necessarily, but obviously it's something that we've done a lot of this spring.
Did you share who those 5 or 6 guys are?
Yeah, you got your 5 or 6 guys. Going to be Austin. It's going to be Alex Kozan, played a lot of games. Xavier Dampier, Braden Smith, Robert Leff, and then we've got Mike Horton, Darius James, Caleb Kim, some other guys behind them, Marquell Harrell. All those guys competing to kind of see who can help either get into the mix to start or even provide quality depth. You got to have 8 or 9 really guys that you can count on the offensive line at a minimum to play in this league and be successful, because inevitably you're going to have a couple guys go down.
Brett, when it comes to making a decision at quarterback, how highly does it rank with the quarterback's comfort level and chemistry with the running backs? We heard Trey talk about it all the time with Nick in 2013, even Cap in 2014. You guys didn't do quite as much of that last year with the running quarterback, but I just know where that running back.
Well, probably where Trey and Cap were coming from is just the zone read element.
Yeah.
There's a lot of feel to that, and you know, that's an area that, I'll be honest with you, is as much buzz as everybody gives about John. Jeremy and Sean are more comfortable with that right now even than John, just because they've done it so much longer. They should be. That's just repetition and all that. It doesn't have anything to do with just specifically the running backs. It's going to matter with the receivers, you know, because sometimes for a quarterback, you can feel like you're improving, but if you don't maybe have the guys all in the spots they're going to be in the fall, it's hard to get a better gauge. So it's everybody. It's running backs, receivers. Who's going to lead our team? I mean, like I said, who can step out there and make everybody better? Who can make plays and protect the football? So running back's a part of that. I don't know if it's the only or the deciding factor.
You mentioned
Piggyback off
earlier-
of.
You mentioned earlier about how you may need to temper things with John Franklin III. And
Yeah.
what do you think when guys like me and reporters and all these stories are coming out about his future and people saying he could be the starter?
Yeah.
How do you handle that with him? Because I'm sure he sees it and reads it too.
You know, at the end of the day, I mean, y'all are just doing your job, and that's part of it. And hey, at the end of the day, he's got a chance to be that guy. So, and it doesn't matter if you're him or someone else. The expectations here, they're high. They're high for all of us. And if you can't block those things out and focus in on doing your job, then it's probably going to be tough on you anyways. So honestly, he and I hadn't talked one bit about that. He's done a nice job of really just diving in and being really focused and trying to learn the system and do a good job and get better each day. You know, I just say that because, and it's not no one's fault, but sometimes, you know, expectations can be put in places, and it may not be unfair, right, wrong, or indifferent. You know, but just give guys a chance to go out and earn it and prove it first before maybe sometimes we, any of us, saddle them with those great expectations that now they have to live up to, and sometimes it's fair, maybe sometimes it's not.
To piggyback off of Brandon's question about the running backs, you've known Gus for a long time, and it just seems like why does he kind of, it's always hesitant to kind of name a number 1 tailback, to kind of name that guy. You know, even with Trey and last year with Peyton, he seemed hesitant even in the first month of the season to kind of do that.
Yeah, well, a lot of times, you know, in the examples you gave, the first year we were fresh and new.
Right.
And to be honest with you, no one had really earned it in practice. Trey hadn't proven head and shoulders above. He was the best in practice at that point. The next year, we kind of knew what we had with Cap. It was, can Corey be an every down back, or is he going to have his role? But we had a pretty good idea there. Last year, we didn't know. I mean, Rock had earned the job probably at least to start the game coming out of fall camp, but you know, Peyton ended up proving what he could do in a game-like situation. That's just what's so hard. Even if you go live in scrimmages sometimes, when everything matters, when all the flashing lights are out there, the game's on, the pressure's the highest, who can step up and make those plays? And you know, Rock got nicked up that game, Javon got nicked up that first game, and Peyton came in and really was a big reason we won the football game. We closed it out. And so he gained and earned our trust at that point. So probably the reason is a lot of times, unless you just have a clear-cut guy, you need to get a few games in to find out, okay, who's the toughest of these guys? Who can not only just have a good run here or there, but who can handle the pounding for 20, 25 plus carries in our league? Who gets better as the game goes on? You know, and you learn your guys. And so, you know, we got good information on Javon. We got good information on Rock. We've got decent information on KJ. You know, it's hurt him not being able to go through the spring, but we think he's going to be a really good back. And it's good that he'll be ready to roll throughout the summer and all that. And then we got guys like Bubba or Chandler and Cameron Petway that have played some running back in high school. So we got some versatility there. But until we play Clemson week 1 and see who can really handle it, you know, drive 4, drive 5, drive 6, it's sometimes hard to know who's that kind of bell cow that you can really hang your hat on, and that's probably why.
A little bit more on expectations. Obviously, going back to last year, Jeremy Johnson had sky-high expectations. People talk about the Heisman. We all know what happened afterward. How is he handling this spring and knowing that, you know, he might not even be the starter going into this into his senior year, knowing that, you know, he was built up these last few years to be that guy?
He's done a really good job putting blinders on and to kind of y'all's questions, just not worrying about it. Just going out and trying to be the best he can be. I mean, I've been really, really impressed with that. I don't know a lot of kids who could go through what he went through and do that. And so that's why I've been incredibly proud of how he's handled it. And that's why I think he's gotten better. And, you know, that's kind of what I was talking about with John. Just, it was no one's fault. I mean, all we could do is embrace it and try. I mean, you got to be able to handle it. But, you know, a kid had a couple spotty times playing in one half of football. They played extremely well. And, you know, it elevated everything. And sometimes what gets lost in that is when you're a backup and you have a chance to come in and start one game here, that's different than when you're the guy. It just is. And but at the same time, a guy like Jeremy takes a lot of blame for last year when there was 10 other guys on the field with him. And, you know, the first few games we turned the ball over. But after that, he stopped. And it's not always just that one guy. But like I tell those guys, the quarterback gets probably too much credit when we win and too much blame when we lose. And that's just the nature of that business and that job. And you got to be able to accept that.
Prior to this latest injury, was Tyler showing the progress you would hope coming off an injury like he was?
Kinda. You know, he'd been on a pitch count anyways, which is good that we never had to pull back or miss a day of practice. So I think from a structural standpoint, his old injury was good. I don't think we've had any setbacks there. Knowing myself, I didn't have an elbow injury, but a shoulder injury. It's tough when you're coming back and you may be healthy and not hurt, but it just feels different. And there's a lot of confidence that hurdles you got to overcome and some things like that. I think he was getting better as spring went on. He wasn't where he wanted to be, but he was getting better. So, you know, it's kind of a run of bad luck for him. It's a different injury, and it's hopefully not near as severe, but obviously for him, I know he was disappointed. He was excited to get to play, obviously, last Saturday and hopefully this Saturday and show he was improving.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
See you guys.
Appreciate it.